Thank you, everyone, for attending today. I just wanted to make sure as we get started, before we get started, that you all can hear me just fine. Uh, Great. I'm glad you can hear me. Thank you. That's wonderful. So we want to go ahead and get started. We're really grateful that you guys have come today to listen to our webinar on how to increase your district's fill rates. It's a topic that we feel is very important for districts, as many of you know. And it's something we feel like we have a lot of experience in and understanding, having done years and years of research regarding this topic. And so there's a few things that I just really want to make sure that we understand today. And one is that you all are welcome to participate in this demo, this webinar, because we have a lot of questions I'm going to be asking. And so if you'll get familiar with the chat feature on your screen, that would be very helpful as we discuss and share thoughts and insights with each other. These discussions will be posted online on our study.org/webinars. So you will all have access to see people's responses that you can use in the future for your school districts if you find it helpful for you. The Zoom webinar chat box that you see on your screen, there's a little, on the very bottom, there's a little section that says to, and it says panelists or attendees. Would you all change yours to say all panelists and attendees? This will allow for everyone to see what you were all saying and typing to each other. That'd be very helpful for all of us. So if you could change that, that'd be great. As a quick question to kind of get this started with the Zoom chat feature, would you mind just sharing with us what it is you hope to get out of the webinar today from the email you got, from your understanding? What do you expect today to learn from this webinar? Would you mind sharing a little bit, just typing into the Zoom chat and sharing with us what you guys are thinking and what you are hoping to learn? There are a lot of topics. I'll be talking about this kind of at the very end. There's a lot of topics that we'll be discussing, but there's a few that we'll be talking about today. So how large districts are increasing fill rates, how to get more jobs filled. That's exactly right. So that we appreciate. We know there's a lot of ways to get to do to increase your fill rate. So we're not going to talk about every single one of those ideas and perspectives, but we're going to talk about a couple of them that we feel are the most important to start with, that will help you in your district immediately. And so as a way of introduction, my name is Sam Brand. I'm over the sales and marketing for Steady. We also have on the line with us, and they'll chime in every once in a while, Kelly, she's over our client services. Jessica is our Chief Education Officer. So many of you probably have heard from her and Kelly, for that matter, over the years. Jessica is one in charge of getting the content the way it is, how it's presented, and helping all you districts so frequently. And Jeff Smith is also on the line. He is the president and CEO of Steady. So yeah, there's some contact information there. Again, these will be posted after. So if you want to reach out to us, you can, but we're going to keep going forward. The goal, I think, of increasing your fill rates is just that, right? Is to increase fill rates so that you have enough teachers in the classrooms that your students are in. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is help continue the educational process, educational learning for these students. So by having a substitute in that space during that time, it will allow that student and all the students to continue learning. So I have a swimming pool analogy. I've been trying to think of a way to kind of help us all understand the importance of fill rates and what's the best way we can kind of move forward and making that happen. But I think there's something we need to understand first. The first thing is expectations. When you go to a swimming pool, the expectation is what? You don't necessarily need to type it, but the expectation is that you know how to swim, right? If you're gonna go to a swimming pool, the expectation is you know how to, tread water and swim around and keep yourself up above and floating, right? So what can go wrong is drowning. Lots of other horrible things can happen, right? And so those are things we don't want to happen. If you have a bad experience with swimming, you don't really want to go back. I had one when I was a young kid. To understand how to swim is an imperative thing. And so I apologize. My internet is kind of on the fritz apparently.
I think you're back on, Sam, so keep going. I'll break in next time as well, but go ahead. Okay, Sam, I think we can hear you. Yeah, I can't hear him either. Can you hear me though? This is Jeff. We might have lost Sam. And okay, well, sorry, and I wish I could control his screen so we could keep going. Let me see if I can take over and move to this. Oh, there you're back, Sam. Go ahead.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now. So I'll stay on too, and if I hear you drop, I'll try to take over. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. Apologize about that.
All right.
So the CDC says that learning skills is the most.
So it sounds like he's going to have internet problems. Let me call this up and
swim. You're not going to fear.
Sam, we just lost you for a minute again. So go. Okay. Yeah. So I think go ahead and finish this slide.
Okay. Am I all right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So understanding how to swim gives you no reason to worry, no reason to fear to get into the pool again. And so at that point, you can continue swimming every day that you want to, right? Because you're confident, you know that you can tread water, you can do what you need to do. So the aspects of substitute teaching is similar, right? That as a substitute teacher knows what they need to do and how they do it, then they are confident in their ability to continue the educational learning process for students without any fear. And so the skill level of substitutes is what is the real key component of having your substitutes feel confident that they can do the job. So those skill levels, they include classroom management, they include implementing a lesson plan that's left behind by the permanent teacher, to be prepared for the day, be professional. Their ability to work with students with special needs is a really important thing. And also understand any legal, educational issues that are there from the district's point of view. And to be ready also with their own fill-in activities. These are the skill levels that if a substitute teacher has, again, they'll be able to tread water, they'll be able to swim and have a great experience, which leads to the ability for you as a sub office to reach back out to them at a future date.
Sorry, it looks like we lost him again. He's broadcasting from home. Some of us are in the office and Kelly's in Florida. And I think there you're back, Sam. Go ahead.
Where did I leave off? I apologize.
That's okay. You were just finishing up sub-management, so I think you're good.
So I'll just kind of move to the next one. The sub readiness and sub friendliness is an important part as well for being able to fill your rates for your substitutes. The reason why is because when substitutes know that the school itself, or the principal or the other teachers that are around them are welcoming to them, it helps them feel confident and have a desire to go back and do it again. And so when the next time they get a phone call, they're willing to do it again. Another sub-readiness and sub-friendliness idea is to have faculty members reach out and help the substitute teacher if they need help during the day, or if it's at lunchtime, sit down with them and have a quick bite to eat with them. Those things go a long way to help them feel confident in their job and feeling like a part of the team at the school that they're serving in. The last one is sub management, your sub office. This includes having your teacher attendance policies up to date, the ease of finding where to apply as a substitute teacher on your district's website. That's part of the sub management, the district policies and things that the district needs to be doing. And also the practice of placing substitute teachers, such as by like seniority or by preference, depending on the need that the district has. So those are three things. Jeff, is there anything on those you want to add?
Well, with the sub-management, sometimes your policies might be not high fill rate friendly, meaning there might be some policies that restrict you from really executing some practices that might be very effective in increasing your fill rate. For example, if you have seniority only placement, then that might restrict you from being able to coordinate with those who are available every day and placing them on the beginning of the school day, holding those till the very last before you place them. Let the system fill everything else. But as you review your policies, you might see what are those that are very friendly, more friendly to substitutes, that would encourage them to teach, and it would be help with increase your fill rate. So it's good to look at that, and I think you'll address how to do that here coming up. So
yep, thank you. So a quick question: if you will get your chat, if you can still hear me.
Yeah.
The next question is, which of these three areas is your district particularly excellent at executing? And if you are, would you just share an example of one of those things that you guys are really good at executing as a district? So again, it's the skill level of the teacher, the sub-readiness, sub-friendliness of the school district to the substitute, and the sub-management, the district office, and your policies and procedures. Which one of those things are you guys particularly good at your district? Would you mind sharing with us? I assume everyone can hear me now still?
Yes,
Okay.
They're thinking.
They are thinking. So check-in and information on the campuses. So there's a check-in process you have when the substitutes go to their assignment. The sub-management you do really well. Yeah, front office best practices, that's awesome, that's fantastic. I think that's a really important part of a sub feeling a part of the team, right? Like you're gonna be, as a district's point of view, you're gonna be expecting to reach out to these people over and over again. So anything you do to help them would be great. You have a retired teachers that keep coming back. They're definitely skilled and understand how to do this. Getting training for new subs, skill level, that's great. I'm so glad to hear that's the skill level is a really important part that we feel really a kindred part of. Welcoming subs to make them feel appreciated. Absolutely, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So what is training? One of the things that we, as kind of a steady way that we look at things, we look at training as probably a little different than some that some districts do. I talk to lots and lots of districts every day, every week, and I have a habit. I've gotten to kind of understand a little bit about when districts talk about orientation, they combine orientation with things like, you know, the how to check in, how to you know, manage your assignments, but they also tie in some kind of training like classroom management. When we talk about training, we're strictly talking about the skills training that's required to actually be in the classroom and allow for that learning experience to happen for students. We're talking about like classroom management, behavioral management, teaching strategies. We're talking about those kinds of things to help the teacher, the substitute, know how to handle and continue that learning experience. Most of the time when I talk to I hear districts talk about orientation, they kind of tie the two of them together. And so when we talk about training, we're specifically talking about skills training. And so whenever you hear anything about study, that's really, you know, specific to what we're talking about for us. They have a lot of great insights and understanding, and it's a really important part of, you know, of getting the teacher onboarded through your orientation. But it's really vital important that you get them the skills training they need to be effective in the classroom. So another quick question, what is it that you do train your substitutes on? So not orientation, not policies, procedures, but what kind of skills training do you as a district that you do train specifically for your substitutes? Would you mind sharing a little bit about that as well? And I hope you can. Classroom management, perfect. Technology training, exactly. They need to know how to manage the technology, that's for sure. What other ideas, what other things do you train specifically substitutes to have in terms of their skills that they need to have? Professional development for a year about classroom management, technology, that's awesome. Safety, those are vital, important parts of the skills training they need to have. And I think we've all learned over the years that without the skills, it becomes very difficult for them, for the substitute, to be effective, right? Also, how many substitutes have been hired who don't have the skills, that tried it for one day and you never heard from them again? The great thing about skills training is just like swimming, again, that the swimming allows, learning how to do that allows them confidence in going back in and doing it again and again because they know how to do it. So the training that we offer classroom management training, teaching strategies training, special education training, our sub skills training package. What we offer, it's our the package for a substitute that teaches them the basic fundamental things that they need to know how to do teaching, right? How to be a substitute teacher. So there's one aspect that we think is a vital important for, and I only want to be on for probably another 10 minutes. So I hope to get through this as quickly as possible for you. But we strongly recommend having a sub task force. The sub task force is an essential component of a district that really helps identify and understand the needs of the sub office and the substitutes, also of the permanent teachers, the principals within your district, to help identify and understand problems, issues, things that are going great that can help your district be better, right? And to perform better. So we would suggest that you immediately start, create a sub task force. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how this works, but it really helps to identify and improve your fill rates, because you'll improve your policies and procedures. You'll have ideas we'll talk about some ideas that you can do, that you can discuss in the sub task force. And it helps improve that learning of students, right? The whole idea is that students, when they're, I think we all know the statistic that a substitute is in the classroom with a student for about a year worth of their K through 12 experience. And so if a sub knows how to continue the learning process, it's a really helpful thing for all of our students to continue that learning process. And we're really trying to help, like all the principals, the teachers, the substitutes themselves. We're trying to, the sub task force purpose is to really help build and create a better sub office and substitute training or substitute management process. And then we only want to address topics in this sub task force. You only want to address topics that are for the sub office, right? We don't want to go into other things, but that's an important part. Some simple things you can.
Looks like we lost him for a minute, but you might meet over lunch at different schools and locations. Not a gripe session, especially if you have substitute teachers as part of your task force. Sorry, Sam, you cut out for just a minute, so I just jumped in.
Where was I at?
I don't know, but I was talking about not a gripe session. So if you have substitute teachers there, pay could be on the topic, on the agenda once a year. It doesn't have to be all the time. And nor do you want to go complain that teachers complaining about substitutes or substitutes complaining about teachers. And so it's just a positive thing. Okay, how can we work together to improve the fill rate? And what are some of these ideas? And so that's what it is. And so you'll focus on problems, and not problems, but solutions. So go
solutions
ahead.
To problems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to tackle all the problems, right? You want to prioritize them. Want to make sure you're not just dumping a bunch of issues on top of this sub task force, but you're able to really take bite-sized bites out of it and really get some movement and make things happen. One of the things, you could send out a survey to find out within your district who may be interested in being a part of that sub task force, and just truly make sure you're having a fun time doing it. That is something that really the purpose is to help.
It's usually those people who you hear from, and you can tell that they're thinking about it. And those people who are passionate about substitute teaching or wanting to be on it. You might have a secretary at a school site, for example, that's quiet, it has some ideas or doing some things that are out of the ordinary, and they would love to be on a district-wide task force for something like this, or a substitute who makes good comments, not just complaining all the time, but good comments and those kind of things.
So Jeff, would you mind taking a minute just to talk? I know you have really kind of pioneered our sub task force for STEADI. Would you mind talking about that a little more? Some of the topics that could be discussed in that.
Well, when we work with districts, we find that those districts that are proactive in addressing it and getting people, because you as the only representative for substitute teaching might not have enough cloud in your district to make change, but once you get this sub task force together and then you have a team and representing from the different stakeholders, that's when things start to take place. And some things might happen immediately, some might take a year or two, but it does take it, and so the topics to begin with, fill rate is one. The hiring, screening, and onboarding process, can that be shortened? Strengths and weaknesses of your district, as far as how do you compare with another district, and what could you do to promote those two things? If they want to have classroom visits, substitute sometimes feels very lonely, and they come in and leave and not really talk to anybody sometimes. So visits would be good. Your different discipline process, your progressive discipline processes, or whatever the policies of the districts are. So these are just some of the ideas: the fill rates, incentives, and subpool. Do we have a large enough subpool? Where are we getting them from? Those kind of things. So a lot of different topics. Really, you'll find once you meet a little bit, you'll find that there are plenty of things to talk about. It's not necessarily repetitive, but it's right now, what would the task force be talking about now if you were meeting via Zoom? You'd have a lot different discussion now than you would have 2 months ago, for example.
And I think it's a really important aspect of bringing the district together as well, to feeling like people again are able to contribute to the betterment of everyone within the district as well. The idea again is to help everyone feel confident in what their job is and what they can do. So the sub task force is really geared to help promote best practices among the substitutes, among the substitute program within the entire district. There are some kind of expectations, I think, that you need to ask yourselves as a district. And one is just make sure that it's the minimum objective is met when you create a sub task force. Is it really worth it? Like if we were to accomplish one thing with this sub task force, is it worth it? And you see all the topics that could be discussed, and so there's probably a lot that you could figure out that would be, but just make sure it's worth meeting those objectives, and that when you figure out what those are, then you could create that task force to move forward. The other thing is on the sub task force members, be selective about who you have on there, and that doesn't mean only take the favorites or anything. I think there's a real diversity that needs to happen among the members of this task force, particularly those of different kind of, like a principal, or obviously people within the sub office would be a part of it. There's permanent teachers. There's maybe a substitute teacher that could be a part of it. There may be students you may want to be a part of it.
Another one would be staff development, because if they're part of your sub task force, they can see what staff development scheduling or not lack of scheduling will impact, how that impacts substitute teaching. And so to have them buy into what needs to be done, that would be great to have them on this task force.
I was just going to mention and we'll talk about this as well, but it's really important that you kind of know what's going on in the district. So having someone within that development would be really helpful. So these are some ideas, right, of who you could add to the task force. Getting started, again, is make sure you understand your purpose. Make sure you get buy-in from the district, that you have the approval to do this, to create this committee. Create a diverse committee, like we said, and then set a date and just go. And you'll figure things out more and more, because the needs of every district is different, and that's the whole idea of the sub task force. So it's really important that you are able to discuss and figure out how you can help each other. And then for probably the first year, your committee meetings probably be monthly, and then after that,
Looks like we lost him, but I think you can see what it is. Just you don't want to meet for meeting's sake, but you will learn that monthly might not be too many in your first year. Okay, so what works best will be, you'll have to decide what works best for your district.
Okay. So right now, a question is do you guys have a task force or a substitute committee? Do you have a sub task force already in your district? Would you mind sharing with us? I'd love to see how many of you do and don't.
And who's part of that committee?
What was that, Jeff?
And who's part of that committee? Who do you have? Well, there's no sorry if you don't have one, but it is an opportunity, because it really helps, so you're not alone. And there are people that would be willing to do this.
Also, a little earlier, Ashley was from Irving was sharing that their district does pop-ins, and they give popcorn to the substitutes. And somebody had asked how often they do that. I'm not sure that Ashley saw that question, wanting to know how often they do those pop-ins.
And that's kind of the idea of this committee, right? Is to share ideas.
Yeah, so you can see there the comments, district officials and subs. Yes, HR, permanent sub, pool of sub teacher principal. That's
teachers,
awesome.
Principals, these are great. Yeah. These are awesome.
They're really good. 30 plus campuses, so we split it up and try to go to each campus at least once a year. That's good. Well, there was one district that had 110 campuses, and so they actually had a representative from each campus as part of one of their subcommittees, and so they met annually with all 110 schools, and so they could talk about how things could work district-wide, and brought some unity, because it was very helpful to have the same sub-folder, if you will, in every school, in every classroom. And so if it's hot pink, then when the substitute walks into the classroom, they recognize, oh, that's the subfolder, and so they can go to it and get it. So
250 campuses, that's a lot.
Ah.
Jeez. an annual plan may work for you.
Yeah.
But it really depends, right? Depends on the need, depends on what it is you need. That's the great thing about it. We would just suggest that you create one, that you look into it, you research it, and see how it can benefit your district. We have seen incredible results that having these sub task force or committees that have really made a difference within school districts. So
you may with a district that size with 250 campuses, you might, and you probably already have regions. In the regions, where substitutes would tend to stay in one specific region, that group might get together, and so you can have some consistency. And it may be just, it could be for everybody like that. It could be a blog, so it's electronic, so you're sharing ideas written if you can't get together, but that, so everybody can be part of talking and discussing.
And let's be honest, with today's environment of what we've all had to experience with the coronavirus, that now doing a group of 250, maybe one representative from each location is actually really feasible with technology, right? Like, there are solutions now that we've all kind of been forced to do that we can kind of create and expand it so people don't have to come from all over, right? That you could get them all into discussions like this and really have some good discussions, a good chat. So the recruiting stuff. So then the first topic was a sub task force, right? And understanding that and getting them trained. The next one is recruiting substitutes. We would suggest that you set a hiring goal to every year, and you probably do, and I would assume that you do, but make sure you understand how many substitutes you need when you've set that goal. So is it 3 times your absence? Is it 1 sub per 3 or 5, 4 teachers? Make sure you know what those ratios are so you can plan accordingly as you do your advertising, your marketing, and starting into your recruiting season. Make sure you know what the number is that you have to hit so that goal can be obtained, right? So it's something you're identifying and working toward. The other suggestion when it comes to recruiting is broadcast your need to everyone. Broadcast it to your teachers, to your parents, to the school district, to the newspaper. Broadcast it to everyone so everyone knows that the need of the school district is great and that you need, a certain number of subs even, or just that you need subs to come in and work. One of the surveys we did once was with some districts. We tried to figure out like where applicants were coming from, and these are just kind of averages. This changes, I'm sure, on a regular basis, but what we found is more than half of the applicants that you get, and you can all kind of agree. In fact, maybe that's a good question to have on chat. If you have any idea of how many applicants you get from your website, or how many you get from word of mouth, or how many you get from your advertising and marketing efforts, if you could actually share, I'd be quite interested to know what some of you, what you see or what you see are the leading identifiers for getting applicants into substitute teachers. These are just some things that are really helpful, and we're going to talk a little more about ways that you can help recruit even more. Recruiting in a rural area, word of mouth, that makes a lot of sense. It definitely makes a lot of sense. Having people talk to others is a really important thing. Post on district website. You hear place advertised in the newspaper prior to the start of the year. Yep, that's exactly. We have some ideas of some things you can do as well. And you may do some of these things already, but we're going to throw out some ideas as well. One of the things is, let's see. Yeah, one of the things is we did a survey for faculty to and we asked the questions: do you recruit neighbors, friends, family to substitute teach within your district? And 26.76% said yes, they do. 62.88% said they don't. And 10% said no, but they will in the future. The idea here is if faculty aren't talking to friends, neighbors, family about substitute teaching, there's an opportunity there, right? There's a real case that simply talking to your faculty and asking them to refer people back to the district can be very helpful. And we can go into referral programs that the district can make and create to help incentivize faculty to do that. There's other things you could do there.
It could be a parent of one of the students they teach. So you just ask, out of the 30 kids you have, is there a parent, and could you recommend them?
Exactly. It's really kind of a helpful thing. So someone's added some things that our district website, there's road signs to display at all the school cities, substitute teachers needed. That's fantastic. I love that idea. And you're right, when the economy is good, jobs are plenty and it's hard to fill the sub numbers drop. So, and I agree with you, but as we look forward to this coming school year, what's the expectation this coming school year, right? When we know unemployment is really high, so what are you planning on doing? What's the expectation the district's considering? What are you guys thinking about? And I'm sure you are thinking about those. But that's one thing that you keep in mind is when unemployment is high, like it is, then there's probably a lot of work that's going to happen that you may be inundated with substitute applicants. So the other one down is the principals, right? We asked principals the same question, and I'm not really surprised by principals saying, more than half of them say yes, they do talk to family and friends about substitute teaching. But that's really indicative of principals, right? And their ability to be in front of people and talking to people, and their desire to make their school better. They're out there promoting and getting people to come. So I can see and understand that. But you still have 37% that don't. So there's still room that more principals can have some impact on your recruiting status. Here are some ideas for recruiting, advertising methods that you can go through. The school newsletter, a letter to parents, email throughout the district. There's billboards you can ask. Jeff told me once I heard him talk about talking to billboard companies and see if they'll donate a billboard that's not being used, right? If you're driving on the highway or freeway and you see a billboard that's blank or it's not being used, try and identify who the billboard company is and ask them if they'd be willing to donate to the district to put some job placement there for substitutes. There are and again, there's lots of press release. Someone I heard also they did an open house at the beginning of each year at each of their locations, and as parents and students came in, they had little tables around with signs that said, needing substitute teachers. So all the parents had to walk by them and they would see these signs about signing up to learn more about being a substitute teacher. So there are some really great ideas. What are some other ideas that you guys have in terms of recruiting or advertising methods that you use for recruiting substitutes? It's really helpful to have some more insights on there. And I know there's probably 5 times as much as opportunities to advertise and promote these. But okay, so a job fair is a great way to do it, right? Having a booth at a job fair so people walk by and see the district and what the needs are there. Movie theater ads, I hadn't thought about that. That's actually a great idea. And you could probably talk to movie theaters and get a discount on those, or maybe get them to donate as a way to donate to the district, that they can, help you with the ad itself, the commercial itself. That's actually a great idea. And there are some movies coming out this summer that you could probably plan on and try and get in front of, that audiences are going to be once the coronavirus, once we all are able to go back into doing normal things. Theaters may have a big uptick to attendees, so that may be a really good place. signs in front of the office, the schools with qualifications listed. I think that's a fantastic idea. Parents walk in every day, right? You have, hundreds of parents are walking into their schools, getting their kids and so forth. So that's a great idea to have something posted right in front. So things that the district, one thing your district can improve on is the website. So these are more questions for you to answer, and I can't really answer them for you. It's really more for you to identify what you can do looking at your own website. If you're looking at your website, would you apply to be a substitute? I think that's a really important question to ask yourself. Am I interested in this job after I read the website post or the posting or the listing? If I go to the substitute page on the school website, am I intrigued enough to want to go through the process to become a substitute teacher? Identify what your process looks like for, or what it is for becoming a substitute teacher on the website. Make sure that you understand, identify the process they go through to become a sub. And then if you understand that process, again, are you willing to become a substitute in in your district? I think you need to identify the strengths of your application process. Some things that go really fast. There are probably some things in most districts that aren't the best practices or policies. So this may be something you could discuss in your sub task force meeting to talk about ways of improving your website and getting more and more people through that process. So looking at and reviewing your website is an important thing. When you have more than 50% of people who identify that they found the job through your website becomes a really vital part of recruiting and understanding that those people are going to come through there. And so make it the best experience they can. So you get more people. So this is kind of an interesting slide. The reason why I put it on here is so as you're advertising, your marketing, even on your website, as you're talking to applicants to get them to come and apply for a job, I think it's important that you understand their reasons why they want to be a substitute teacher. So we've done, I don't even know how many, 14,000, 15,000 surveys. Jeff, do you even know the number over the years, how many we've done?
Oh, no, well, yeah, tens of thousands.
Yeah, I don't even know. That's why I'm laughing, because I have no idea. So, but these numbers, these percentages, we've gotten and gathered them over years of doing the surveys. And so people, as you can see, as the list goes on, their reasons for being a substitute increases. So money is not their number one reason why they want to be a substitute. What they want is they want to be with other people like themselves, like teachers that they want to be with, and they like working with students is a second. And then they love flexibility of having the ability to have a part-time job that they can choose when they can work, right? When it works for the schedule. Those are important things. So as you're doing marketing, talking about the money may not be the most important highlight that you make, but talking about flexibility of a job, talking about working with students and making a difference, and talking about working with colleagues who share your same ideals, right? There's other things that will entice them to help them feel confident that they can do it and that they'd be excited to do it. Anything else you want to add to that, Jeff?
No, that's good. It is, the number one reason is wanting to work with students. And then, like you said, it's working with other teachers. And then flexibility and money tend to be the third and fourth reason why they substitute teach. Those two go back and forth. It changes a little bit during economic difference in time, but that's pretty standard. Just we want to make sure that they get rewarded by having positive experience working with students, and that's where training comes in to make sure that they know how to work with students, and then good interaction with other teachers and faculty and staff, and those can go a long way to really keep those sub pools up to have high fill rates, and so it's important to keep those up there.
So one of the things we talked about earlier was the sub friendliness, where we suggest that you create incentives, or you talk to your faculty members and staff at the different school locations at your different sites to be really friendly to substitutes, to help encourage them and be kind to them and eat, lunch with them. If one of the top reasons for wanting to be a substitute is to be with other people, if other people aren't talking to them, aren't visiting with them, then that's going to be a real put off for them to not want to come back and do it again. So understanding that this is a thing they like to be in front of, like to be with other adults like them, then helping them feel that love, right? Helping them feel the need and the desire that they want them there in their school to be a substitute. Feeling that is really important for substitutes. And so it's a really vital thing to understand, and hope that this can help you guys teach and educate your staff and faculty to identify the things that will help the subs want to come back more and more. So I think we talked about this. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, I guess. The what does your district do to advertise for substitute teachers? And I think you shared a lot of that already. So we can move on. But I think we're kind of done with the webinar. I really want to thank you all very much. Really, the purpose of this webinar is to help you understand the importance of creating a sub task force, and just some recruiting ideas and some hopefully improvements, enhancements that you can make to your district policies, to your sub office, that will help increase those fill rates that you guys are needing help with. In the future, there's lots of, like I said at the beginning, there's lots of topics to discuss when it comes to fill rates. And so we'll talk more about them in the weeks to come, like teacher absenteeism, right? There are key indicators, key reasons how we can help that, and which is the purpose of substitute teachers, right? And so we'll talk about and address lots of those different issues moving forward.
We'll also talk about maybe procedures, your technology, what are you using? And I wrote down problem sites, but then I scratched it out and put challenging sites, those sites, schools where people don't want to go, and what do you do and how do you handle that, as well as challenging assignments, those assignments that people don't want to take, and data sharing, how can you share data with principals to help with this. So there's a lot still more to do, and that, like Sam said, this is just touching on a task force, which would be common tool to use on all what we're talking about here, but we wanted to introduce that and make sure that you've addressed that and see if you can put a sub-task force together.
Because it really has made a difference in many of the school districts that we've talked with and visited with and recommended this process with. Creating a sub-task force, like a lot of the topics we're talking about, the sub-task force can end up discussing these things and having ideas to improve for the district what would work best for you. So we definitely want to thank you for coming today, and hope
I'd like to interject something really quick too. Just something to keep in mind is that we actually have a fill rate course and our Fill Rate Academy that we make available on their own, but we're also making available as part of the packages that we've just recently started promoting. So there's courses that we actually have, that can help you with these things, and they cover all the different aspects. We're able to cover it just a little bit in a webinar like this, but we hope that, that we have that kind of information available in a course for you as well.
And thank you all for attending as well. We really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or thoughts, or please reach out to us, call us, email us directly. We'd be happy to help you in any way we can. Question for you. I'm going to leave the chat open. We'll end the chat, but I'll mute myself. But really, one of the questions, what's of interest to you for next week's webinar? We can put these together pretty quickly on the fly, and we're happy to do it, but we want to make sure that we're meeting the need of those who are attending. So any suggestions, any thoughts about what our next week's topic could be would be helpful. Please add it to the chat and help us understand. For now, we want to thank you again for attending, and hope to see you guys next week. See you later.